Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show. I'm Ginny Robertson, one of the hosts of the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show, and we're live right here in the On Purpose Woman Global Community Facebook group. I am also the founder of the On Purpose Woman Global Community and the founder and publisher of the On Purpose Woman magazine. And today I'm here with my co-host, Kathryn Yarborough, and we're going to be talking about how your purpose path is like a moving sidewalk. So, Kathryn, hey, great to be here with you. I always love being here with you. And tell the people, the few people out there who don't know who Kathryn Yarborough is, tell them a little bit about you and what you do out there in the world.
You're so funny. I don't think I'm known by that many people. But if you don't know me, my friends, I am the creator of the Manifesting Clients Academy and the Moving Sidewalk movement. And I love, love, love supporting on purpose, heart-based solopreneurs in growing the business that their heart longs for. And that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about, because when we're on our purpose path, if you are a solopreneur or entrepreneur, you're growing the business your heart longs for. So I'm really delighted to be here. And I feel like I'm just at the cusp of at the beginning, just at the beginning stage of talking about this in a really serious and hopefully fun, useful way. So I am thrilled that my maiden voyage in talking about the purpose path and the moving sidewalk is with you, my good friend, Jenny, and all of the wonderful women in the On Purpose Woman global community.
Yes, me too. And I've been watching you. I guess it's been about a year and a half now that you've been kind of on your, well, you've been on your purpose path a long, long time, but you've been in this mode and talking about the moving sidewalk and what that means. So I'm really excited that it's kind of come together in a kind of a new and really cool way for you and that you're going to share it with all of us. And we also want to be sure we don't forget to talk about some ways that people can join in that coming up in April. So,
Mhm, mhm.
but people might read that and say, your purpose path, what is that? A lot of people know what purpose is and they know what path is. But how would you explain that to somebody who had no idea what you're talking about? What is your purpose path?
Okay, so where it comes from for me is that I started a few years ago doing a kind of practice that I did with myself and then with my clients. I call it a guided journey to meet your future on purpose self. And this is the future you, the you, the let's say there's multiple futures, right? So there's a future you that you do nothing but sit around and watch TV or Netflix all day long. Now that's a future you that probably none of us really want to be. And then there may be a future you where you join a nunnery, and that would be a different path, right? So there's multiple future yous, and depending on what we do each day, we create our future. So, with this guided journey, I invite people to connect to that possible future, one of those out in the ethers out there, where you are doing what you're really here to do, where you are totally fulfilling your purpose and feeling like you're making totally 100% making the difference you're here to make. You're doing your on purpose work full out without constraint rather than letting fear hold you back or getting stuck on this side of your comfort zone and all the different things, concern about what other people might say, those kinds of things that can stop us. So your future you, that's your on purpose future self, has gotten over all of that, and she's really doing it. And when we do connect in a with a guided journey where you've closed your eyes, you've relaxed, you've gone into a slightly non-ordinary state of consciousness, you can, what I say, meet her and see what her life is like. And when you do that, well, when I do that, I have a sense of a path between where I am today and where she is. And it doesn't include sitting around watching Netflix all day long.
It's a
I
little,
can promise
it's a
that.
little Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Um, so that path between where you are right now, and I'll talk about me, where I am right now, and where my future on purpose self is in the future, that I call your purpose path. So that's the sort of a long-winded explanation, I guess, maybe not too long, of what I mean by purpose path. Does that make sense?
It sure does. It sure does. So what you're saying is if we can get quiet, maybe have some guidance to actually visualize our future self, no matter what we may think that we're capable of right now, that future self could have some surprises for us.
Oh boy, yes, she can.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they could be scary.
they can
They
be.
could be exciting. They could be thrilling. They could be joyful, all of those things. So when we're sitting and you're guiding people through this, and I've done it, but I don't, and I love it. We're able to see that. And why don't we just wake up in the morning and go, well, I want to do that and I want to be that and I want to be her and pull it off. What's the difference between the clarity of that and just kind of wishing and dreaming and hoping and scheming and all that stuff? Does that make sense?
The clarity of that versus wishing and dreaming and scheming.
Yeah. We say we want, that was a song Dusty Springfield song from back in the day. But I guess what I'm trying to say is most people who want something different or want something more for their life, a lot of us will think about it, and we'll wish for it, we'll hope for it, and we'll do some things to take it. What makes that end result that we can see ahead of time a little bit so much more powerful than just the
wishing,
thinking about it? Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that's an interesting question, and I think that they are related. I do, because I know that for me, before I even started this practice, I knew inside of myself that I wanted to be, in quotes, successful. Like I hadn't really quite mastered what I feel like is successful. When I tune into my future on purpose self, I would say she's successful. So I could have sat in that, I want to be successful. But what's different for me is that I see her doing it. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that I've conjured up. Like I could say, before I did this practice, I could have said, well, okay, so Kathryn, what does success look like? All right, so I have 20 clients. I do this with them. I make X amount of money. I could define it from my front lobe. But with the guided journey process or going into a non-ordinary state of consciousness and meeting your future on purpose self, at least for me, I get an image. I get images of a life that's possible. And for me, I believe, and I believe it for everybody, not just for me, but I believe this, that our purpose is an expression of our divine nature.
I love that.
Yeah. And our future on purpose self is really living it full out. She is fulfilling that purpose that is that expression of our divine nature. So I believe when we shift into that non-ordinary state of consciousness to access that possible future, what we get, the images aren't just coming from this part of our brain, but they're coming from our higher self, from this great one that we're all part of. So for me, what that means, it's possible in a way that just if I thought of doing it, I'd have to make it happen. Whereas with this future on purpose self, I'm getting divine support, divine guidance. I mean, I have to do stuff. We all always have to do stuff, but just feels like it's also more right, more that it's needed for humanity for us to do this, whatever each person's future on purpose self is doing.
Well, I love that part especially. And, I've done this a number of times. And I'll speak for myself now in that process. And what happens is I can feel it. I get feelings about, it's not just a vision. It's like I get excited. It feels big. It doesn't have to be a big thing that I'm doing, but it feels big. Like you say, it feels like this is why I showed up. Yeah. It feels right. And it's a wonderful place, I think, to get back to when we start to doubt, when things start to feel hard, or nobody signs up for something that all that stuff that happens in a day-to-day business life. It's a great place to go remember, oh, this is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm. And it's not, so part of it, is remembering to get that remotivation, but also I've discovered that I am getting guidance from my future on purpose self about what to do now in order to be and become her. now, so that with each step, I'm more in alignment with that process. And so it's just there's this excitement, there's this inner peace, there's this purpose that I'm experiencing now more and more and more. It's great. But I so I want to mention what you spoke to right in the beginning, that I've got something coming up for people to
Mhm.
experience this. I'm launching a new event called Get on Your Moving Sidewalk. And I'm decided, Jenny, to do it twice a month. I'm committing for 2 months. There's multiple reasons why I'm doing it twice a month for two. I mean, I'm committed to doing it for 2 years. Why I'm doing it twice a month for 2 years. But one reason is because I do think it is helpful to regularly get a tune up with your future on purpose self, because as we do our business, as we do our life, we can forget her. And so I want people to not just come once to this event. If they like it, if it resonates with them, I want them to come either quarterly, definitely quarterly, possibly every month or every other month, depending on how much they need that connection with their future on purpose self. Because every time I'll take people on a guided journey to meet her. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with people who join me on this, with this process. Because as you've said, it's very powerful with the feelings, the imagery, the everything that we get. I have been I would say building momentum to completely commit to this way of life. That's what I would say. Started with tapping my toes in, like every half a year, I do an exercise to connect with my future on purpose self, and then more and more and more. So I'm committed.
Yeah. I love that you've gotten clear on this and that you're committed in for the short, long term, if you will. Why don't you go ahead and tell people how they can get more information on that so they don't have to wait to get that information? Because I know I got your email and I'm going to be at the first one.
Oh, good.
Plus, I like being at things that you do and I like this process especially. So how can people find out more?
Well, they can go to my website, which is manifestingclientsacademy.com. And under it says services and events, there's a little tab. You'll see get on your moving sidewalk event. So my website is manifestingclientsacademy.com. And under services and events, go to get on your moving sidewalk event. You can also do manifestingclientsacademy.com/moving sidewalk event.
Okay. And you've made them extremely affordable. I will say that too. So they'll be
That's
fun.
right.
They'll
The
be
first,
fun.
the
Yeah. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, the first 30 people save $10. So instead of paying $37, the first 30 people who sign up save $10, and it's only $27. So yes, they're going to be fun. I do fun things, don't I?
You do fun things. Yes. So I want to talk about this idea of moving sidewalk in a minute, what that means, but back to the purpose path and our future on purpose self. Have you found over the time that you've been doing this for yourself that she has grown and expanded and gotten bigger than the first time you did it? Has your future on purpose self shifted? Or do you think that future on purpose self is pretty much in place and stays there? We just shift to meet her.
That's a really interesting question. And I don't know what's going to happen the more I do this with people and see
Mhm.
their experience. I've certainly done it with several clients, but not in this committed way that I'm stepping into now, as you've experienced it before and other people have. But for myself, I don't feel that my future on purpose self has really changed all that much. I have seen her, just for anyone who's interested, I've seen her do events, and this is what's shown up again and again and again, is that she's doing a couple events a month, and I've seen her do them in person. And I stumbled, and the wall I hit was, first of all, it's hard to fill in-person events. You got to know people and in the area that you're going to do them. Plus, you got to pay rent for places. So there's this expense for events. Plus, you got to have this network of people if you're going to do them like twice a month. So, and then COVID happened because I was starting with that. And I felt like I was hitting this wall with becoming my future on purpose self. And now that I've committed to really saying I'm doing 2 events a month online, it's interesting because on the one hand, it's not exactly the vision, but she says it's okay. Like I might be doing this much longer than 2 years. Like
Mhm.
I'm seeing the possibility of doing this event twice a month longer than 2 years. And I'm surprised because I love in person because it's just so much, there's so much more energy in the room. But I will probably also do some in-person events as well because I really think that's where my purpose is best expressed. I'm learning that. It's taking me outside my comfort zone. Not that I'm not uncomfortable, not that I'm uncomfortable in front of people. It's just there's different pieces that I'm having to learn, which is a really important thing to understand. When you're connected with your future on purpose self, you're not here yet. You're not her yet because there's aspects of how she is with herself and others in the world that you haven't developed yet. So part of the journey between where you are now, that purpose path, and where she is, it's not just doing things, it's a way of being that gets to evolve. And that's very exciting to me and in some ways challenging and interesting. So,
Well, what would you say to someone, a client, if this has ever happened, when they meet that future on purpose self and they go, I can't imagine ever being her. Has anybody ever said that or have they felt that way? Like it's just too big or it's too, even though they know it's what they want, but yet they can't imagine it yet.
so I certainly felt that way when I first started. In terms of a client, I'm trying to think if anybody, I think if anything, what I have noticed is that people don't allow themselves to truly open up to their future on purpose self.
Okay.
So instead of actually opening to her and going, it's more like they may see her through a little pinhole and not really open up to her. And it depends on where we are, where a person is right now on their journey and how much they've been seeking purpose.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good. So what the heck is a moving sidewalk? I've been on one. I've been on a few moving sidewalks. I was on a moving sidewalk when I visited you in at the Orlando, when I went to the Orlando airport, I was on a moving sidewalk. So how does that at all tie into what you're talking about here? Don't you think some people read that and go, what does she mean by moving sidewalk? Right?
It is interesting. I asked in my Moving Sidewalk Movement Facebook group back in like maybe the second or third month what people thought it meant, if they knew what it meant, and I got different answers. Some people had heard me talk about it and other people hadn't, and it actually had meaning. I'll share that in a second. But for me, the reason why I say it is what I've discovered is that when I'm tuned into my future on purpose self and I'm aware of that purpose path, it actually it feels it feels like I'm on a moving sidewalk when I'm actually tuned into her and feeling myself aligned with her. And in other words, it feels to me like energy flows into me and through me and is moving me forward. My experience is, or my interpretation of that feeling is that it's coming from something bigger than us. As I said before, I believe that that purpose is an expression of the divine. And so this great one that we're all part of wants us to be on our moving sidewalks or purpose paths. So it's makes it feel good because it does when you're moving forward on there, when you're looking towards your future on purpose self, not like you were talking about, like, oh my God, that's too much, I'll never get there, which is certainly possible because she can feel like too much. And you can jump off of I feel like I've done this a lot is I get off of my moving sidewalk and I'm standing next to it, looking at it going, no, I want to get on there, but I'm over here and I'm feeling bad. When you're on it, you feel great.
Okay. Yeah.
You may do stuff that's a little scary because you are stepping outside of your comfort zone, but it doesn't, but for me at least, I it's not a scary feeling that's overwhelming and stops me. It's more of a kind of exciting, slightly just uncomfortable because this is new, but there's that good feeling of forward movement that comes with it. So it's an interesting experience for me. That's why I call it a moving sidewalk, and it's why I created the Moving Sidewalk movement, which is both a Facebook group and a paid membership, because I want to provide opportunities. Well, I see in my mind hundreds of coaches, energy workers, healers, and other on-purpose solopreneurs and small business owners on their moving sidewalk. So that's what I'm seeing with the movement. I'm seeing us on our individual moving sidewalks, looking to the future, becoming our on-purpose selves, and that the community that's a sister community, if you will, of the On-Purpose Woman global community is we're supporting each other in that, in being and becoming our future on-purpose self.
And then what? What happens? What do you think? What do you envision if we're all doing that?
Well, I envision that the world is a better place.
Yeah.
Because we're making the difference we're here to make, and that is affecting all the people we touch, and that is ripples around the globe. And so to the extent to which we say no and sit around and watch Netflix or play games on our phone or whatever it is that you do, that whoever's listening that stops you from being on your purpose path, that's to the extent to which we're not doing what we're here to do and making the difference we're here to make, and the collective shift that we can do together that will raise all of humanity's vibration up and move us into being a species that actually is healthy and right, in right alignment with what we're here to do as a species. And that's pretty darn exciting.
Oh gosh, it feels so good, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And it's also something that if I think I'm going to do that on my own, then like I'll go to bed, I'll go watch Netflix for a day. But when we can collectively use each other's energy and support and all of that to move together, that's really exciting. That's really, really exciting. And I think I've been on my moving sidewalk, I've gotten off, I've gotten back on. But when I think about, a moving sidewalk at the airport, what does that do for us? It makes us get to like go with the flow. The energy is moving us. We're not having to exert unnecessary energy to do things that we don't want to do, like lug our suitcases through the whole darn airport. And if they're really like going to miss a flight or something, people are pretty relaxed on their moving cycle. You ever notice that? They're kind of like, unless they're the kind that always rush for everything, but it's kind of like it's a pause moment. And we're just being kind of moved along. And that's how
Right.
that's how the other moving sidewalk feels to me. Something bigger than me is helping me move along. And I don't have to, and then the right people show up, the right opportunities show up, all these interesting things just happen. So it's all part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. So it's like we can be standing on the moving sidewalk and move with it, or we walk with it, which means that forward movement is that much easier. And that sense of flow with that energy. So either way, we're moving forward, and yeah, it feels good.
Not so much about trying to make things happen
Right.
and just letting them, yeah. Yeah. Sometimes there's not the right words for it either, I think. There's, for me at least. Sometimes when I feel things really strongly, I can't come up with the word that other people might understand. But you know it when you feel it, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'd like to go back for a minute. And how do you think this came to you? I mean, I know how it came to you. You do a lot of inner work, you sit quietly, you journal every day. But it could have come to you 20 years ago and it didn't. So why do you think now, over the last year or two, that this is what's showing up for you?
Interesting question. How? I appreciate the question in different ways. First, I'll say why I think it's an interesting question. I think it's interesting that things show up at different times for us, period. That when I was in my early 20s, I had this huge aha that what we all need to do for healing and for creating our best lives is to integrate our body, our heart, well, our thinking, our physical self, our emotions, and what we do in the world. And that's never left me, that knowing that we need to be holistic. But yeah, I didn't have a sense back then of a future on purpose self. But interestingly, I did have a knowing back then of it being possible for me to be whole and healthy and feel better when I struggled. But anyway, so why did it come recently, more recently? So in 2017, I committed to working primarily with entrepreneurs. And I started like twice a year or 4 times a year. I definitely think twice a year, doing a retreat for growing a business, growing your on purpose business, or growing a business you love, or growing your dream business. That's the term that I use, which is where I often did this practice. And I came out of wanting to support us, me and everybody who came to the retreat, and creating a business plan. And I mean, where do these things come from?
I guess what I was asking more than where they came from maybe was, do you think you were just in a place in your life to hear it and feel it at that time? And yeah, maybe there's no answer to that question. Maybe it's just
Well, so the idea came to me over a few years, but I didn't commit to it until a year ago. I didn't create the moving sidewalk movement until a year ago. And yeah. So I don't know. So ask another question, or ask the same
okay.
question again.
Yeah, and maybe this is what I was really trying to ask. So we see our future on purpose self. The ways we get to her can change over time.
Mm.
She doesn't change. We grow into her, but we may think this is the right thing to do on the path, and we may get new information or try something, and that shifts. So that's probably what happened more than anything. It wasn't not like it just came to you, is that you were trying different things, and some things felt right, and the things that didn't, you put off to the side. Is that more accurate? Maybe not for
Yes.
you, just for people in general,
Yeah, yes, it might be for most of us, if not everybody, that we start off like, well, okay, so she's doing events. So I created my Take Your Breaks Off event.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't quite the right fit, though it's a really great workshop. And then I said, well, let me try the Manifesting Clients Hoopla. And it's interesting. It's interesting because at this moment in time, I just completed my book, Keep Moving Forward, a guide for the on purpose solopreneur. And writing that book was a task on the journey. So one of the concepts that I teach that goes along with the moving sidewalk idea and the purpose path is that there's legs on the journey of becoming her. As I was saying, there's transformations. I see it as a process of going from where we are to there. And that one of the things that we can open to is not okay, is a leg that has a task that we need to complete in order to get to the next leg of the journey. So several months ago, as I was tuned in to my future on purpose self and asking, well, what's the leg of this journey? What's the task of this leg? The guidance I received was to become clear about what I was teaching. And I don't know if it came then or afterwards that the best way to do that was to write this book. But I didn't have all these pieces until I wrote this book. So I had different pieces of what the teaching is that goes along with all of this. But now with this book, I've got all the pieces. So I wasn't really committed. I don't feel like I was really committed to being her until just this past week, basically, when I sent my book off to my editor because the book's done. So now I'm ready to grow my reach, to step out, to really do this. So, and it has, and in terms of doing the event as an online event, doing this new Get on Your Moving Sidewalk event as the thing that's going to move me to become her. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting question. There's a feeling of our future on purpose self, but yeah, what we're actually doing, the structure we create to be her, that's uncovered. We're going to uncover that as we move forward. And that's what I think you're seeing me do. Try this structure. Okay, this is sort of it. It's like trying on clothes. Like, I'll try this on and this feels sort of right, but it's a little tight back here. So this isn't it.
Mhm.
I'm not really able to be. So anyway, it's interesting that's
Yeah.
uncovering pieces.
I love your answer though about, yeah, I think I just committed last week finally when I sent my book to the editor, because there may be some women watching who think they're just, they haven't even started the path yet and they don't know anything how to get there. They don't need to know how to get there yet, right? What would you say to people who don't feel like they, we're all doers, right? We all feel like we have to do stuff and, read another book and learn another thing, and we don't know what to do. What do you say to those people to help them just step back and let the process happen a little bit more?
So I definitely think no matter where we are, we can have an image or a feeling of our future on purpose self. And so one of the things we can do right now, no matter where you are with actually growing a business that you love, if that's what your future on purpose self has done, is you can start to paint the picture of her, both with the guided journeys I do. I teach a new story process. You can start to paint the picture so you get to know her better. And in you can do the next leg of the journey process, which again, I'll be doing in the Get on Your Moving Sidewalk event so people can get a sense of what that task is for them. And if you take it on, like I pushed away the book for several months. I just said, no, I got other things to do. I'm not going to do this now. I'm not going to do this now. It was
Longer than several months, wasn't it? I remember a few years ago, you were saying people tell me I should write a book.
yeah, but it wasn't this book.
You hadn't called. Oh, it wasn't this book. It was a different book. So you didn't write that book at all.
No, I didn't. I've had this, I think, my third big book idea. And I was when I started to write, I thought, I don't know if I'm going to finish it. I've had a couple other book ideas, but anyway, something happened. I
It was the
couldn't.
book. Yeah.
Yes. So anyhow, if you are wondering what to do, if your purpose is expressed to a business, I do say start making money now. So the more we can know what our future on purpose self is doing in the future, like if she's doing a bunch of private sessions, it's a good idea to start doing private sessions now. If she's doing events, you got to do events. If like to the best of your ability, start doing what she's doing in some way or another so you get that experience, unless she tells you not to or something else.
Mhm.
So there's always something we can do now, and it could be training. For some of us, I think getting the whole urge to get different trainings come to us because we need that training in order to become her. So
Mhm.
there's always a right next step.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think I did put in my book is that it's not a leap. I tried to leap from where I am to where she is. That was my Take Your Breaks Off workshop experience. It was like I was going to go from nothing to workshops with 100 people in the room. And I got 4. So that just didn't happen. I didn't leap. So I'm fine with one step at a time. And I personally think that's the best way to grow anything. And just do the next right thing that you're called to do that's really right for you to do, and you'll become her. So that's my answer to that.
Thank you. I think that's a really important thing to repeat. Do the next one right thing
Mm-hmm,
that takes you closer to being her.
mm-hmm,
The next one right thing. It's a great question. I ask myself that question sometimes when I'm stuck. What's the next right thing to do?
mm-hmm.
And sometimes what'll come to me is get out of your office and go get some fresh air, because
Exactly.
I know, because I'm stuck and because I'm in my head and and so just I think the more we have these dialogues with ourselves, the more we'll start to trust the answers that we get, right? That I made a fight with myself. I can't go take a walk because I've got this stuff to do. But yet if I do, I come back and all of a sudden it's not hard anymore. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love this whole idea, Kathryn. I've been a fan of this process. I've been a fan of you for a long time. And is there anything else you want to mention about the moving sidewalk, the purpose path, your events, your book, anything that we didn't touch on so far?
Oh, okay. Yes, sure. First of all, if you haven't joined my Facebook group, come on over. It's Moving Sidewalk Movement, and it's still a young group in terms of its size, but it's a great group, and come join us. And I have a membership site. So if you like me and you want to check it out, go to movingsidewalkmovement.com and you'll see information about how you can participate, what the benefits are, those sorts of things. And then, of course, the event is Get on Your Moving Sidewalk. And you can go to manifestingclientsacademy.com/moving sidewalk event.com. And my book, the launch date, all goes well, is June 1st. So stay connected to me and find something to join my e-list. There's a free membership for sure on movingsidewalkmovement.com, and you'll get on my e-list, and I'll keep you informed about the book. It's called Keep Moving Forward, a guide for the on-purpose solopreneur. And I think that's everything. Now, I am an active part of the On Purpose Woman global community. I do 2 connections through conversation gatherings once a month, every month. And so join me for one of those. Hang out with me. I come to as many On Purpose Woman gatherings that I can, other than the ones that I do. And so, say hello, tell me you heard this, let me know what you think, email me, Facebook message me. I want to hear your thoughts about this whole moving sidewalk idea and your purpose path. I really am curious. I feel, as I said, committed to doing these events twice a month, to supporting on-purpose solopreneurs and getting on their moving sidewalk, and then growing a business from tuning into what their future on-purpose self is doing. So I'm going to be crafting more opportunities for folks to uncover that and design their businesses based on that. I'm super excited about it. So hang out with me.
Yes, yes. And I sneaked into the group for a minute to see if there were any questions or comments. And we've got a couple of comments I'd like to share. Okay, they may be inspire you to do something else for a minute. So, yeah, ready? Okay. Pam McFarland says, good suggestion. So easy to feel paralyzed because we don't know what to do next. One step at a time to grow into anything. Next one, right thing. Yes. So Pam liked that suggestion quite a bit. And Lola says, something bigger than me is helping me move along. I love this. Exactly how I feel. Thanks, Kathryn and Ginny, for having this conversation. So,
I'm glad y'all listen in, Pam and Lola. Nice to hear from you.
Yes. So anything else? Are we going to wrap up at 2:38, do you think?
That would be great. And anybody else who's listening to the replay, please comment. Let us know what your thoughts are. That's another way you can connect with us, and both Ginny and I. And I just want to say, Ginny has been on purpose for years. So use her as a role model as well.
Oh,
and yes, absolutely. And we are both discovering and uncovering and learning how to be even more on purpose, I would say. I think that's true for both of us.
I do too.
Yeah. And I appreciate that about you, Ginny. So thank you.
And I was thinking, as you were talking about when I started the On Purpose Woman Global Community, and I always say I really didn't know what I was doing. And that doesn't mean I wasn't able to do it. It just means I had no idea what I was headed towards. I didn't know what would happen. I didn't know if anybody would come, but I knew I had to do it. So I didn't have the formal conversation with my future on purpose self. I didn't know about her, but I think something out there was pushing me, because 21 years later, why am I still so excited about it? And why am I still even doing it in a bigger way? So the sooner we can connect with her and get moving towards her, I think the more fulfilling life we'll have, the more we'll bring our gifts to the planet, which is the most important thing, really. Grow a business that we love, but also make our unique difference on the planet. And that's what really jazzes me about all of this work. So Kathryn, thank you so much. Go check out Kathryn on Facebook, on her website. Go attend her event. I'll be at the first one. Is it April? What's the date? Do you remember?
I think it's the 10th. April 10th is a Saturday, is the first one.
Okay, yes, I'll be there. So, but I want to thank all of you for watching this Real Women, Real Purpose talk show live in the On Purpose Woman Global Community Facebook group. And for a list of the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show topics, you can go to onpurposewomanmagazine.com and check out the current issue. Now, when you go to onpurposewomanmagazine.com, you're going to see a whole new website. So run over there and check out the website. You'll go to the magazine page first because that's what you're typing in. but you can also look at everything else over there, all the group information, the meetings. And if you want to get there quicker, you can go to opwgc.com. That's On Purpose Woman Global Community. So I'd love to hear what you think about the new website, and be sure you read the magazine because it's got all kinds of wonderful information for your mind, your body, your spirit, and your business. And if you love this interview and want to share it with some of your friends who also want to meet their future on purpose self, it will be up on our YouTube channel in about 2 days. And you want to find our YouTube channel, go over to YouTube and put in On Purpose Woman Global Community. It's the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show. But if you put in On Purpose Woman Global Community, it will pop up. You can see all of our other interviews. I think we've got at least 35, maybe more than that at this point. Great interviews to help you along your path. And you don't want to miss this Thursday, because this Thursday I'll be back here with Maria Johnson Darby and Danita Terry, and we're going to be talking about, kind of in support of Women's History Month, we're going to be talking about her story, the journey of women through the ages. Maria is the board of directors for the Maryland Women's Heritage Museum Foundation, and they do all this. They just do all this historical stuff for women in Maryland. But we're going to be talking about women in general in history and how we got here based on a lot of the stuff that they did back then. And then on Tuesday, March 30th, I'll also be talking with Sarah Kaltwasser on art as self-care. So join us again, and thank you for watching the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show, and I'll see you again. Bye.